Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. So today I will guide you through how to navigate complexity to build valuable products. So let's jump in. We are throwing many different challenges at you today. So imagine that you just joined a company that builds a meditation platform. And it's targeting users who are individuals interested in mindfulness. It also offers their services in a subscription model. So you are responsible for the meditation app product, and you are expected to create value for your company, but also improve the application. So where do you start? Well, it sounds quite overwhelming, doesn't it? So today I will guide you through a blueprint of what different steps you can do in this case. Just keep in mind that there are many different approaches, and this will be just one of them. And hopefully it will equip you with some tools. So the first one would be to understand the goal of your business. Companies primarily exist to create a financial outcome. So a return on investment for investors. So to be a successful product team, you definitely have to understand your business leaders' priorities. So you need to create value for your business to ensure the sustainability of your product. And how can you do that? First, you should take a step back, because often us product teams struggle with so many complex choices, and we just rush to make decisions and execute. But you should take a step back and talk to your business stakeholders, your business leadership, and ask them, what is the goal of our company? Is it to increase revenue or decrease costs? Are we focusing on retaining customer or rather on expansion? So imagine that you learned from this conversation with your business leader that your company measures success based on the growth of the monthly recurring revenue. Great. So now you just have to figure out what is the behavior that will lead more people not to cancel their subscription, and also some more people to subscribe. So now we can start our discovery activities. Product teams do a set of activities to decide what to build. That's what we call discovery. And then another set of activities to build and deliver it. That's what we call delivery. And today, these steps will seem like a very linear process in my presentation, but remember that it's definitely not a linear process. They overlap and intertwine. So, since the business outcome that we just learned, increasing MRR, is a financial lagging indicator, it's a lagging measure of success. So by the time that you realize that your customers churned, there isn't much to do. It's really hard to get them back. So that's why your product team should set a product outcome. A product outcome basically describes a customer behavior that happens within your product. And there are certain important aspects of it. So it should definitely positively impact the desired business outcome, so it should be a leading indicator. And you should be able to measure it and observe it easily and quickly with your product team, so you can see if you are on the right track or you need to course correct before your customers churn. And also it needs to be in the realm of your product team's influence. So this will motivate your team and also make them accountable. So you can identify potential product outcomes by breaking down how your company makes money, so their revenue model, into a formula. Typically, revenue is made up of a very simple formula, price times the quantity. And then it depends on your company's business model, how that formula is broken down. So this is the formula of our B2C subscription business. So to identify the product outcomes, you need to ask yourself, what would drive up each of these metrics, each of these numbers? And pay attention, because some of these inputs that you identify will not be in your product team's realm of influence. Maybe it's in your marketing team's realm of influence or finance teams, but you have to find something that is within your product team's control. So if we look at the number of billing cycles as an example, we can ask ourselves, what would make people stay longer on our app or stay a customer longer for more months? And it could be if they meditated more or if they meditated longer, because then they get more value out of our product, right? So then hopefully they will stay a customer for many months. So imagine that after doing this analysis, you identified that we want to focus on increasing the percentage of users meditating weekly from 20%, that is currently at today, to 30%. So next step is to get to know your users. And how can you do that? By talking to them. So how do we start interviewing our users? First, you should set your objective. What is the goal of your research? Next up, create some research question by asking yourself, what do we want to learn? And remember, research questions and interview questions are two different things. Because in interviews, we might be tempted to ask our users questions like, would you meditate more if you got a daily reminder? But in this case, you are asking them to hypothesize about their future behavior. And people are very, very bad in predicting their future behaviors. So what can we ask in interviews? You should ask for stories about their past behaviors, because past behavior is the best indicator for someone's future behaviors. And also, you shouldn't ask them to generalize. So imagine if I asked you, what do you usually enjoy watching? You might say that I like documentaries and nature films, because you are an intellectual smart person, of course. But if I asked you, tell me about the last time that you watched something, you might say that, oh, it was last night. I got home after a long day at work, just wanted to decompress, so I put on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And you see the difference there, right? You believe that you enjoy watching documentaries, but in reality, after a long day at work, you like reality television. And that's completely fine. But people are very bad at forecasting their own behavior, or we believe that we do one thing, but we actually do a completely different thing. So that's why you should ask for stories about your users' past behaviors. So you can ask, tell me about the last time you meditated. And when your users stopped answering or they get a bit stuck, you can prompt them with extra questions. So set the scene for me. What motivated you? What did you do next? And then you will get very, very good insights. And based on these insights, you can identify opportunities. So an opportunity is an unmet user need, pain point, or desire. And you can use the opportunity solution tree by Teresa Torres to map out these opportunities. And you will put the opportunities on the tree that you believe will directly have a positive impact on your product outcome if you solve that opportunity. Next, now that we understand our users, we are going to build some personas, or one persona, depending on how many archetypes we identified. So a persona is basically a fictional, yet realistic description of our typical user. And it will help your team to empathize better with this person that you are solving problems for. And also, you can refer to them in your user stories when you are talking about their pain points, needs, and desires. And also, you can use to populate this template the insights that you've learned during your interviews. We tend to jump into solutions a bit too early when we are trying to find out what to build. But it's very important to map out the problem space and understand what problems and challenges our users face before we start to come up with solutions for them. So you can use the double diamond design process to guide your discovery activities, where first we discover the problem space, so all the problems that, or many of the problems that our users might face, and then we prioritize those and decide what user pain point we want to focus on, what we want to solve. And then we jump into the solution space. So you can prioritize opportunities together with your discovery team, who also understand what your users struggle with. And you can imagine that we prioritize this opportunity. I wish I could learn more about the science of meditation, because we believe that if we solve this, it will have a positive impact on our product outcome. Now we can start ideating solutions with our team. So our team should definitely include product manager, designer, and developers. It's very important to bring in different viewpoints. You might have some different roles on your team as well. You can invite them as well. Just keep the team in a manageable size. And before starting to ideate solutions, you should make sure that your team is on the same page about what problem you are trying to solve, for whom, and why. So for the ideation, you can use the Crazy 8 exercise and ask your team, how might Maya, our persona, learn more about the science of meditation? You can give everyone an A4 piece of paper and fold it into 8 quadrants. Then ask them to ideate 8 solutions within 8 minutes. Now, it's going to be very hard for your team to come up with 8 different solutions for the same problem, but you should push your team, because studies show that quantity in this case leads to quality. So the more ideas you generate, the better they will get. And you might not use the whole idea, but you might use elements of it and pair it with elements of another idea. All right, now we are ready to slice out a minimum viable product. So there is always more to build than you have people, time, and money for. Always. So probably you won't have time to build everything. That's why we can use the user story mapping technique by Jeff Patton to basically map out what are the activities that your users will do, and what are the steps that they will do in your product, and then what are the details of those steps, so exactly what each step entails. And then discussing with our team, we can basically slice out an MVP and say that this is what we build, and the other we build later or never, depending on the user feedback that we get for our MVP, and also what we learn. So just remember, the goal is not to build more software faster, but the goal is to maximize the outcome and the input, or the impact, sorry, the outcome and the impact you get from what you choose to build. It's also very important to get feedback quickly. So the shorter time you build something, the sooner you can get something out to your users and get feedback, because people might behave differently than what you thought, even despite of all the user research that you did. Before building anything, it's very important to validate your assumptions. So you can do that by putting your solution ideas in front of users. You can do usability testing, for example, and validate your assumptions through that. So when it comes to usability testing, if you test with 5 users, you almost always get close to the maximum benefit-cost ratio of user testing. Because after 5 users, the number of new insights that you learn will flatten. And now that we know in more details what we want to build, we can start creating user stories. So I remember when I was starting out as a product manager, I was so focused on finding the right structure of how to write a user story. I don't know if it's familiar to anyone. But then I learned that shared documents are not shared understanding. And today, I'm not a big fan of product requirement documents that you just pass on to your developers and then they build something, because then you will end up like the creators of these cakes. So Kent Beck, who came up with the concept of user stories, called them stories because they are intended to spark conversations. And also within your product team, they should create a shared understanding of what outcome our users want to achieve. That's our goal. And basically shared understanding is when we all understand the same thing that the other people is imagining and why. And we can, to achieve shared understanding, we can visualize our thinking because that really helps to identify that, oh, actually we are not thinking about the same. And of course, we can document what we agreed so we can write the user stories, but what's most important isn't what's written down, but what we remember when we read it. And now that we built something, it's going super quickly. We can slice out a release strategy, or create a release strategy, rather. So we can have some conversations with our team about who should be the target customer segment that we want to release it to. Are we targeting one user segment first, or rolling it out to our whole user base? Are we making it available only for beta users first? Many decisions to make there. One advice is to go live with a new feature or a new product at the beginning of the week. Because if you go live at the end of the week or towards the end of the week and something breaks, then your team will spend the weekend bug fixing. And no one really wants that. So up to this point, you did your best to build something valuable. But it's all just a hypothesis until proven otherwise, until you see how your users will actually use this. And if it was a project, then it would be done. You shipped it, but you've just built something. And it's a product. So a product's life starts when you deliver it. You give it to your users. And when you pay close attention to what your users are doing with your product, then you will identify opportunities to improve it further. So thank you so much. I think Kinga, we have some time for questions, but you can also ask me anything after the presentation. You can easily find me according to my colorful jumpsuit. And also, I would like to invite you to meet our team at Volkswagen Digital Solutions. We have a booth right over there. We are hiring for both our Porto and Lisbon offices. So.
Thanks, Kinga, again.
Thank you.